toilet facilities, after which Monreta decided to join hands with Prime Minister's Swachh Bharat mission.
तो मैंने क्या किया, उसी पॉकेट मनी को मैंने जमाना शुरू किया और 2014 में मैंने शुरू किया और 2016 में जाके मेरा पिगी बैंक जो है वो कम्प्लीटली फुल हो गया। तो मैंने जब उस पिगी बैंक को फोड़ा तब 24,000 रुपये निकले वहाँ से। तो उन्हीं 24,000 रुपये को हमने इन्वेस्ट किया और केंद्राडी गांव जो टेल्को के हुडको एरिया के जस्ट बगल में है, वहीं से पहले 2 टॉयलेट बना के ये जर्नी जो है वो शुरू हुई।
After incessant rains lashed several regions of Uttar Pradesh, residents were having to deal with a lot of water that flowed in from various rivers and went above the danger mark. The water levels of Rapti River was flowing well above the danger mark in Gorakhpur, and this severely affected the nearby villages. The flood water even entered the homes of many villages, forcing them to evacuate. The Royal Luxury liner and the train Palace on Wheels, which came to a halt in March 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, was flagged off from the Safdarjung railway station in the national capital. This train will be running under the operation and maintenance model Bharat Gaurav train policy of the Indian Railways. And this award-winning train will leave Delhi every Wednesday on its scheduled time and will go through the cities of Rajasthan.
Welcome back, and a quick check of some key news from across the country. The Election Commission has announced the polling dates for the state of Himachal Pradesh. The elections for the 68 assembly seats will be conducted in a single phase on the 12th of November, and the results will be declared on the 8th of December. This time, the Himachal elections have a three-way fight between the incumbent BJP, Congress and the new entrant, Aam Aadmi Party.
The Gazette notification would be 17th October. The election would be in one phase. Last date for nomination would be 25th October, that is Tuesday. Date for scrutiny would be 27th. Last date for withdrawal would be 29th. And date of poll 12th November. And date of counting 8th December. And the entire process is completed by 10th of December.
The dates of Gujarat elections will also be announced very soon. According to the Election Commission, the announcement of the Gujarat Assembly election dates will be made by the end of October. The counting of votes for the Gujarat Assembly elections is likely on the 8th, along with Himachal Pradesh Assembly elections. The Assembly elections for the state of Gujarat are likely to be held in 2 phases. Smriti Irani has lashed out at Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal over Gujarat President Gopal Adalia's remark on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's mother. She said that with the blessings of Arvind Kejriwal, our leadership in Gujarat has attacked the Prime Minister's 100-year-old mother. The NIA has conducted various investigations and searches at locations in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir. This is in connection to the drone delivery case. In the past 9 months, security forces have observed the illegal entry of 191 drones in Indian territory from Pakistan, raising major concerns in terms of internal security of the country. In a significant move, the Mumbai Traffic Police have made it compulsory for all drivers and passengers of motor vehicles to wear seat belts from 1st of November. Any person driving without a seat belt or carries a passenger who's not wearing the seat belt shall be liable for a fine and punishment. The All India Senior Selection Committee has named Mohammad Shami and Jasprit Bumrah's replacement in India's ICC Men's T20 World Cup squad. Shami has reached Australia and will link up with the squad in Brisbane ahead of the warm-up matches. Mohammad Siraj and Shardul Thakur have been named as backups. The embattled British Prime Minister has fired her Chancellor Exchequer Kwasi after just 37 days of premiership. Now, she resigned at the truce request after rushing back to London overnight from IMF meetings in Washington. He's expected to scrap part of their economic package in a bid to survive the market and political turmoil gripping the country. Russian officials in the occupied Kherson region of Ukraine have reiterated calls for local residents to evacuate Russia. The move comes as Ukrainian forces push their counter-offensive deeper into the southern Kherson region at a slower pace. And new tensions are flaring in the Korean peninsula, with North Korea test firing a series of long-range missiles. South Korea has called out the violation of Inter-Korean Military Agreement 2018, while Japan has warned of a possible advancement of a nuclear technology by Korea. In what can be termed as a medical marvel, a 35-year-old patient underwent an awake brain surgery while playing saxophone. The surgery lasted for 9 hours in Rome and removed the brain tumor successfully. And the unique architecture of world's tallest building leaves people speechless. Although there's no dearth of videos capturing Dubai's Burj Khalifa, there are some cinematic spectacles which stun the viewers. Drone pilot Andre Larsen has shared a video capturing Khalifa Tower from top to bottom.
"25 weeks of unparalleled domination. India's indisputable number one, CNN News 18, on your side."
Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. Jai Hind, and thank you for joining us on this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan. This Friday evening, we're going to focus on a development that is going to happen in the neighborhood, especially with the enemy state. But that could have direct ramifications on Bharat. Also, this could also mean that there is a nation that is controlling or pulling the strings and trying to dictate the course that this region would take, and perhaps playing a balancing act, especially trying to tell India that don't get too comfortable with Russia, and if you're going to assert your own strategic autonomy, then we will also try and dilute the pitch for you or diffuse the pitch for you. So we're talking about the US of A, but directly with their interference or involvement or somewhere patronage to Pakistan. Now we'll get to that in just a bit, but this is the CNN News 18 exclusive that we will start with right at the very top. Now, relief from Pakistan for the FATF. Green signal that's been given to Pakistan. This is what CNN News 18 has been able to glean, and this is the information our investigations editor Manoj Gupta is getting us, that a green signal has been given for Pakistan to exit the FATF grey list. That's what's happened. Pakistan to submit response on the objections at the FATF plenary that is to be held between the 18th and the 21st of October in Paris, and they would have the MOS Foreign Affairs, Hina Rabbani Kar, also present. Pakistan almost compliant with FATF's 40 recommendations. That's what sources are telling CNN News 18. Pakistan to claim compliance with the 11 critical conditions for the future. Have they really done it? That's the biggest question. Those 11 conditions include having very, very stringent laws against money laundering. When a former Prime Minister himself is currently being indicted on money laundering or just been and there are many other leaders of Pakistan who have been charged with money laundering. Where has the money laundering stopped is a big question. Have they really acted on it? Or is it just being glossed over? Or have they been told to just create an impression that you have done it and we will accept that? And why would America, US, which has larger influence in FATF, also critical influence in the IMF, allow this? Now, where is the double game that we are talking about, and is this balancing act or counterbalancing the weights? America's outreach to Pakistan, is it a very dangerous double game? Is it back to the 1970s? Let's try and understand this. What all did it lead to? F-16 sustenance package to Pakistan, $450 million. It said not a message to India. This is Eli right now. We look to India and Pakistan as partners. Whereas what Donald Trump, or during the Trump era, Pakistan was actually called out. In the Biden era now, US-Pak share intelligence on Afghanistan. Pakistan's loan application to IMF gets instant approval this time around. They get an extension. US-Pak partnership focus is counter-terrorism and nuclear security. That's why the F-16s have been given. Then more importantly, US-Pak envoy visits POK and calls it Azad Kashmir. Big photo ops are done. A perception is created. There is a huge difference between what and how the Trump era termed Pakistan and what is happening under Joe Biden. This is especially after India turned around and said we will continue to buy gas or oil from Russia. We went ahead with the S-400 missiles, the next lot delivery, and India also turned around and said we are also going to call you out. Let's talk human rights together. Many aspects. So is this a message saying if you are going to assert your strategic autonomy, then we are also trying to counterbalance a bit? Is Uncle Sam playing a dangerous double game? That's the question that we are asking. Because America's machinations in Pakistan, because of their interest in Afghanistan, hurt India deeply over the last 4 or 5 decades. Exonerating Pakistan, is this a dangerous double game being played by Uncle Sam? Dr. Tara Karta, former Director, National Security Council Secretariat with us. RVS Mani, former Under Secretary, the MHA, is with us. We also have Major General retired Dhruv C. Katoch, Director, India Foundation with us, and Ambassador Anil Triguniyat, former diplomat with us. Namaste to all our panelists. Thank you very, very much. Let me start with Ambassador Anil Triguniyat. Ambassador Triguniyat, how would you view this?
Well, I will view it as the chess game that the big powers are used to playing. And that's precisely what they do. And even this time, one cannot be naive to even think that they will not do it. And Pakistan has some uncanny, I think, habit or an advantage of being able to encash its nuisance value. The whole world knows that the Pakistan is the haven of terrorism. It has been using terrorism as an instrument of foreign policy against India. Despite that, if you see what is happening from the United States, from China, from even Russia sometimes, this is really mind-boggling. That it clearly shows that for their myopic gains, or to somehow kind of teach a lesson to the other person or irk the other partner, whom they call comprehensive global strategic partner. This is the way to do it. So then they are going to lose in a big way. And you were in your reporting saying that is it a cost to strategic autonomy? Of course, the path of strategic autonomy, as we have learned over 75, 77 years, is not an easy one. But at the same time, it is the principal path in which national interest is supreme and the global peace dividends are desirable. I mean, that is what we try to do. And that's what India has done and India will do. And irrespective of what is the outcome of the Russia-Ukraine war, the world will be heading towards Cold War 2.0. And in my view, India will once again be leading nations for strategic autonomy, which is now a refined version of the non-aligned movement that existed at the time.
Tara Karta ji, I'll come back to you, Ambassador Saab, just getting opening comments from everybody, and then we'll circle back on ramifications for India and what we need to do. See, Donald Trump, in 2018 January, Tara ji, Pakistan is a terrorist haven. Ned Price says we look to India and Pakistan as partners, 2022. Donald Trump, no more security assistance to Pakistan. Eli Ratner, F-16 sustenance package, not a message to India or over its Russia stand, but because of our defense partnership with Pakistan that is primarily focused on counter-terrorism and nuclear security. And we know what Subramaniam Jaishankar ji had to say to that comment. Donald Trump, they have given us nothing but lies and deceit, thinking of our leaders as fools. Partnership continues. This is today, the current administration. Partnership continues today with discussions focused on opportunities to address key mutual defense interests. Trump said, Pakistan shelters terrorists. India needs bigger role in Afghanistan. US-Pak envoy and POJK calls it Azad Kashmir. US-Pak embassy uses Azad Jammu and Kashmir in its tweets and its communication. What has changed in 4 years, especially in the last 6 months? FATF, APAC turns around and says Pakistan has not even confirmed to one of the 11 conditions. But however, we are given to understand it will be made to seem that Pakistan has complied to 11 of the 11 strict conditions, especially on terror funding and money laundering.
I think what you said just now, I think that made such a impression on me. I mean, that their own leadership is indulging in money laundering. So it's quite a joke, right? And also, as we know, there is the terrorism from Pakistan, the terrorist camps remain, the terrorist groups remain, everything is as it was. So what has changed last month, I think it was in August, I think, there was a report saying that there are some aircraft flying from Pakistan to Romania for weapons for Ukraine. I mean, very few people actually commented on that aspect. This is just one instance how Pakistan makes itself useful. It has, unlike us, it has a thriving weapons industry because it's run by the army. It's a country which is run by the army, isn't it? But nonetheless, the fact that it has been able to weigh in on the side of the West in terms of Ukraine is a huge advantage. You had Imran Khan saying, why can't we be independent like India and we must have our independent foreign policy, we must go to Russia and all the rest of it. What are they saying? They're saying that if you don't help us, we will also do the same thing. We will buy oil from Russia as well. So Pakistan is very adept at this game. They are supplying, I mean, nobody even commented on it, that weapons for Ukraine were going from Pakistan. What has Russia got to say about that? So, that is one. Second is, of course, the targeting of Ayman al-Zawahiri in Afghanistan, where the Stanexai, the Afghan foreign minister, clearly said that this was done with the drones flying from Pakistan. He said that. I mean, it was obvious. Where else will it come from? Will it come from Iran? Certainly not. Will it come from Central Asia? There is no way, because that's what we call quote-unquote Russian airspace. So there's a lot of give that these guys are doing all the time, also playing with China. But however, I will just make one word of caution, is that in the latest US national security strategy, there is no mention of Pakistan at all. Where India is put as a major, as a friend, partner, blah, blah, whatever you want to call it. We have a role to play in Asia Pacific. That role you cannot be duplicated by Pakistan. There is no way. But Pakistan is also someone who will play that also, because it's a friend of China's.
Correct.
So I'm pretty sure they're going to play that game as well. So let's wait and see. This is not good. The Azad Kashmir visit and the subsequent tweeting is an extremely bad precedent. And I'm really surprised that they could be so inept as to do something like that.
Were they inept or did they do it deliberately? That is also another aspect. Did they do it deliberately? Is it because India has been asserting its strategic autonomy that they want to counterbalance the weights? Major General Dhruv Katoch, is that the angle, or is there a greater game at play? Now I have Karthik Chopra watching this broadcast and he's regularly contributing. He is also turning around and saying China processes 95% of special metals and rare earth, all used by the US defense sector. So
thank you, Anand.
So there are other dynamics here also at play.
Yes, Anand. Thank you, Anand. There are multiple dynamics at play. But I think the first dynamic which we need to understand is that the world order is changing and America has become very uncomfortable because they were still thinking, the Anglo-Saxon alliance, the United States and Britain, they were still thinking that India will be the poodle dog and will wag its tail the way they want it. Now, bad luck to them, it's not going to happen, regardless of what they do. So, whether the United States gives weapons and or military aid to Pakistan, whether they get out of the FATF, it really won't matter. India will not change its stance. Now, some of the hypocrisy which is coming around, one of the things was the buying of oil from Russia. Ukraine is buying oil from Russia and they are fighting that war. I mean, half of Europe is buying oil from Russia, and then they have the cheek to tell us. The second thing is, they are trying to put in a sort of a narrative that they are on the right side of history. I would like to make it very clear, Anand, to you and your audience, they are on the wrong side of history. India is on the right side of history. India is seeking peace from both sides, and we are not getting involved. This is a European war. And one more point I want to highlight.
Ji.
I think this is also, there is also a battle going on for retaining the validity of the dollar as the international currency. Now that is said to be underplayed now by the BRICS currency, which will come in next year, and by India and other countries now getting onto direct exchanges
Digital currency
without the dollar. So India, Saudi Arabia trade, India's trade with other countries is now coming onto direct currency trade, and we will settle the balance in gold and silver bullion. Now, America is very uncomfortable because once the dollar system breaks, then America will be a bankrupt country, and they will lose their status as a unipolar world, as a unipolar power in the world. So there are multiple games being played. But what the US needs to realize, regardless of what they do, I think India has grown too big for them. We are not going to bow down. We will look into our self-interest. So whether they give a support to Pakistan or not, that Pakistan, in my view, is not the concern. My larger concern, Anand, and I'm very serious about it, is the ability of the United States to fund groups within India to create disturbances, as we have seen during the past few years, the riots which take place. They have been sponsored from abroad, and the US is pretty good at it. So that is something which I think we need to keep a check on. As far as Pakistan is concerned, we'll handle them. I don't think there's any problem at all from terrorism or from any other side. We'll take them on.
Spoken like the soldier, and the strategist in you also talks about what the American dollars have done within our own country. But that is something which even Rajiv Malhotra ji in his book Snakes in the Ganga has very clearly mentioned. Where is it all coming from in terms of building the narratives? It is worth a lot of thought, the context that he brings in. But RVS Vaniji, I do not know the view from 30,000 feet. I can only say look at it from ground level, and my biggest concern is this is going to embolden the jihadis. They are going to turn around and say this fresh infusion of dollars will come directed towards us, and then they will do everything on our soil. That means a lot of headache, and it's going to derail our growth story. Do you agree, disagree?
Currently, we are also upscaling our own capacity. The NIA and the FIU end is doing a lot of work on that. Taraji must be better in a position. We fought our membership of FATF, but Pakistan has always been on the grey list. Just short of sliding into the blacklist last year or 2 years back. But now, due to certain geopolitical compulsions of America, because they have their supporters in Turkey, China and Malaysia. China has ensured that they don't slide into the blacklist. It's a matter of fact, and it's a matter of history. But the geopolitical compulsions, because it is not just simple, as simple as that. America always being, like, apart from the de-dollarization part, which General Katul beautifully articulated, fundamentally it is that shopkeeper mentality, the American diplomacy, whether it is Biden or whomsoever it is, F-16 sells, and they are provided aid, and that aid is again pumped in back in terms of estate. It's a vicious circle which is happening. Further sinking the Pakistani economy, which even the Pakistani leadership is not concerned about it. They do not, but their failure is not our success. Our success is to protect our soil, and we are going in a very robust manner. Humongous amount of money is coming in terms of startups, development, and all that. And there have been certain instances of externally triggered disturbances, like the Wistron case or the LPG leak in Washington, or even including the Serum Institute of India during the COVID, when we were having a absolutely upper position in the terms of vaccine distribution, and many of the countries in the UNGA have in fact acknowledged our vaccine donation. That at that time there was a fire in the Serum Institute of India. It is simply not an accident. So these are all facts. These have been happening, but now only it has been upscaled because of the geopolitical compulsion, the disturbances in terms of Ukraine war, where the entire Germany is in the threat of entire Western Europe is under the threat of shivering through the winter due to lack of energy. We are striking a deal. We are also doing ourselves with all the other energy producers. And here also there is a click. One of our major suppliers of energy, Saudi, has refused to increase the pumping of oil from there at the American instance. This is the recent one. So now the America finds itself, United States finds itself in a position of nobody cares for them, although he's a big brother. That is what is the compulsion that they are picking up these type of people who could really matter. For example, if Pakistan is aided, in their perception, that will help them to bleed India. It is not that Pakistan is going to bleed India. Our upscale, our
so they believe that this is how they will try to keep their narrative afloat. You talked about Pakistan in the grey list. Just quickly looking at it, in the grey list in February 2008, out of the grey list June 25, 2010. Then in the grey list in February February 2012, out of the grey list in February 2015. This perhaps is the longest duration that they have been in the grey list, because June 2018, 15-member team visits Pakistan, 5-day visit 29th August to the 2nd of September. Pakistan needs positive outcome of on-site visit. A FATF plenary session in Paris on the 18th to the 21st of October 2022. So June 2018 to October 2022, the longest period that Pakistan has been in the grey list.
Here there is a very vital point.
Jay.
You know, India has got a lot of officers trained as evaluators and assessors for FATF benchmarks. But as far as whenever Pakistan is being assessed, I do not think in the 15-member team or a 4-member team or a 8-member team, any Indian officer is any time included in that. That's a very, very vital point. We have a large number of pool of officers who are trained assessors under the
but the Pakistanis will not allow an Indian to come and assess them. So that is
hold on. I have a counterpoint. United Nations Counter Executive Directorate in 2007 sent a Pakistani UN official as a part of the inspection team of the India in 2007-8. But whenever our people are included in the list, Pakistan vetoes it. And it is vetoed by the FATF Secretariat on this ground.
It speaks more about their inability and their own insecurities rather than us, RVS Maniji. That's how I'd like to look at it. But here, Ambassador Anil Triguniya, what does India do and what are the immediate ramifications for India? Because America has gone ahead. Has America not taken kindly to India asserting itself?
Well, that is a fact that they did not like our independent stance. But that means they are forgetting the history of India. And every time, we have taken a principled decision, which is essentially serving our own national interest as well, while helping the cause of the peace and diplomacy and dialogue. So India has taken that stand throughout and does not want to be part of a partisan kind of approaches. If we were to, let us say, accuse or condemn Russia, then what about earlier interventions, unilateral interventions by the United States and NATO countries in Libya, in Iraq, and elsewhere? India abstained even in that. So that has been a position. It is not something that is we are just doing for the heck of it. These are very well thought things. And then the countries tend to believe and respect you for the kind of integrity that you are showing in your stance. Now, United States obviously has an alliance mindset. It does not operate for that. So if you are part of that alliance system, so somebody said that if you are an enemy of USA, it is bad. But if you are a friend of USA, it is still worse. So I think that is the situation that India needs to be careful about. And I think in our policy circles, we have seen the foreign minister and others speaking very clearly about and explain to the Americans and other Western countries about India's position. So they might say that, okay, we want to just pop up Pakistan. We don't understand that this is the kind of games they always played. It is after all just 71 was not very far.
Correct.
Up until 90s, it is only in the 1990s that things started moving differently. And India wants a very close relationship with the United States. But at the same time, these kind of acts tend to put put a spanner into whatever efforts are being made and creates a greater mistrust. And that is something that they need to do. But it doesn't matter. I mean, there's a real politics and all kinds of things go on.
But because interestingly, the IMF loan was also very, very funny, because the IMF doles out $1 billion and almost half of it goes back to the Americans as cost of upgrading the F-16s. Then you take the interest component out, and the Pakistanis are hardly left with anything, nothing, or just close to a dime. The other thing is that, and Sushantji was there with me in the evening, and he had a very interesting point to make. General Dhruv Khatoj, Tara Kartaji just got up. She's back with us. Dhruv Khatoj, Sushant Sareen says their foreign reserves were $9 billion when they got that $1 billion IMF loan. Now it is $7.5 billion, so it's come down. People are not investing in Pakistan. There's no trust there. Are the Americans doing this because the Pakistanis gave up Zawahiri? Is this trade-off? That's where the trade-off is happening. Because economically, this will boost Pakistan's chances of getting investments, getting back into the whitelist. Yes, please.
Anand, it is quite possible that they will get back into the whitelist as far as the FATF is concerned. That is going to give them a slight breather. That is about all. Because once they are on the whitelist, it is easier to get foreign loans and foreign investments.
Correct.
But having said that, that will not take Pakistan out of the dumps. They are in a hopeless position financially, regardless of which way you look at it. And Sushant Sareen is right. It won't make a difference if the US gives them $1 billion, $2 billion in loans. They require much more than that. But more importantly, they require internal reforms. And there is nobody in Pakistan who is going to do it. So, as far as the financial situation is concerned, Pakistan is going to continuously go down till at some point of time, there will be the internal turmoil which is already existing will go totally out of control. I think that day is not far off. It may take place in a year or two. It may be even faster. But my bigger concern really, Anand, is what I said in the first intervention. I'm still concerned about what these Western agencies will do about promoting internal turmoil in India. The experience of the CAA, of the farm laws, the riots, etc., which took place in India, is too fresh in our minds. And I'm surprised that nothing has happened this year so far, perhaps because the PFI has already been put behind bars, most of them. But the Americans are not, the Americans and the West, they are not going to let go. They need to keep India on the leash. And India now it will not be on the leash. That earlier policy of non-alignment has given way to strategic autonomy. In the Indo-Pacific, we will align our interests with the West. It suits us. It suits national interest. In the Eurasian heartland, we will align our interests with Russia and other powers. That suits our interests. So we are going to look into Indian interests. We are not concerned anymore about Russian interests or American interests. Those are for those countries to look after. We will look after our national interest, and that is the way the Indian polity is going about. Anand.
But are we going about it right? Do we have immediate cost to bear? Is there going to be a certain upping of activity, terrorist activity, or doing some bada karnama on Indian soil? Because there's a desperation for the Pakistanis, because they will also get a certain amount of money funding for those who are India baiters, and that money is vital for them. Tara Kartaji, are we ready to bear, counter a situation like that?
No, there's one other advantage, by the way, which the US has, which I think nobody has mentioned, is that this FATF examination has given the US complete insight into whatever loans that Pakistan has been taking from China. What are the financial arrangements? What are the defense tie-ups? That they have now got a complete picture of everything. What was earlier hidden, that is one. So that is perhaps a good thing, I don't know. Right. Second thing is the fact that the effect on us. You may have seen a very good article in a US journal talking about how Kashmir has become relatively an oasis of stability, compared to human rights violations, the women's rights, in terms of all sorts of things all around, that Kashmir is relatively, it's fine. That is something which these guys cannot allow. And a stable Kashmir, I mean, you look at the US position on Kashmir is very simple. It is something which has to be decided bilaterally, that they say that, but they also recently they talk of UN. So it is not in that sense a shift, but this particular reference to Azad Kashmir is definitely mischief mongering. And I am still wondering what is the basic cause for this? What do they want us to do? My guess is it is a fact that we are not completely cutting ties, of course, with Russia, that's obvious. But also the fact that we did not participate in the resolution against Xinjiang. The fact that China remains one of our biggest trading partners. So this is something which has been asked of me several times. That how do you have this relationship with China? You continue to do all this with China. How do you know where we stand? So it is like the previous speaker said, it's a question of our national interests. And if this happens, then there is an erosion of trust in the Indo-Pacific. That is what is going to happen. And that's not going to help bilateral relations. It's not going to help the US policy on China either.
But can we function without it eroding? Can we continue to cooperate with America on Quad? Can we continue to be strategically aligned to Australia and to other nations, while trying to, even as increasingly there is increasing American presence on Indian waters or around the Indian Ocean, given AUKUS, RVS Vaniji, is it possible for us to do it? Is it possible for us to make America understand that you have to allow us to be, while not trying to derail us?
See, continuous engagement is a prerequisite. We cannot simply shut the doors on that. The continuous engagement at different levels will have to be sustained. Notwithstanding the fact that today, because let us be very clear about, people talked about the impoverished Pakistan or their finances, but they do find money for two things. One, for a huge amount of lobbying, which Ambassador will certainly corroborate, that they have a lot of money for only lobbying for these type of things, on which they sink a lot of money. Number two is the general's requirements are always fulfilled. Pakistan's entire expenditure is only on these two items, not much on that. And that is the basic structure of their economy. Having said that, third, for bleeding India or whatever it is, I do not think another 2611 or a German bakery they will ever attempt. But these type of small bleed cuts, like the anti-CAA, like disrupting the Indian economy, will continue. And this has the nod from the US, but we need to continuously keep engaging, whether through Quad, whether through other Anglo-Saxon countries like the Canada. Canada again is a problem area, but still we need to be continuously engaging on that. And nowadays the diplomacy's profile itself as the confidence level and their aggression has improved. Certainly it has improved than what it was 10 years back or 15 years back.
Right.
So that also is also showing the results. They have a much more leg space and autonomy. But again, the question of the amount of funds Pakistan spends on lobbying in different embassies cannot be matched, and we cannot be throwing such type of money on that. But positive engagement will continue. We have the technical cooperation, we have the economic cooperation routes and all, in which these engagements can be furthered. And we also have certain areas in which there is an engagement with the Department of Treasury on terror funding. We are doing it. It was there even 10 years back, and I think that type of thing should be escalated.
But see, I tell you what, one of the thing is that we need to collectively turn around and tell the world this is the West hypocrisy. Ambassador Anil Trigoniaji, final comment. See, how do we function in a situation where the narrative is being set by Uncle Sam and the West, where they say that whatever they do is right, whatever anybody else does is wrong? Look at the hypocrisy here. Arunima has just spoken with the Interpol Secretary General Jürgen Stock. I'm just quoting him on 2 news points. Russia-Ukraine war is a concern for Interpol member nations. What to do about Russia is something that will be discussed at the GA. Interpol General Assembly, they are going to discuss this. Russia-Ukraine war. Then, next, we ask him about Gurpatwant Pannun. Sikh for Justice chap. Why aren't you taking action, or why aren't you issuing an RCN, Red Corner Notice? Interpol doesn't allow action on political, religious, military ground. Russia-Ukraine war political or military नहीं है. वहाँ उसको discuss करेंगे. But Gurpatwant Pannun is political, religious, military ground. And we cannot issue Red Corner Notice there. But you can appeal. This is hypocrisy. This is hypocrisy at play. Writ large. Why should we trust these kind of organizations which work on their particular narrative? It's not a world view, it's their view. Ambassador Trigoniaji.
Well, you have rightly said. I mean, this is their foreign policy. I mean, they just try to hoodwink and lofty ideals, but in practice, they do everything that is totally against it. So it's a hypocrisy is the watchword for them for always. I mean, they say this is what unilateralism is all about. That whatever I say is the gospel truth. But India has been calling out that. So are the other countries. China does that. Russia does it. So there is not that this narrative can simply go through. It is, of course, in the English language media. If you were to just go by that, then you might see that. But then countries are realizing, a larger number of countries. You see in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, now they just opaque because they want to protect their interests. Then Americans want to fix them now once again, since the visit of Biden did not go through. So they turn around their policies overnight. Now, so it doesn't matter. But as far as India is concerned, one thing one should remember, India is far too big, far too important a country in order to be shoved around too much. And they have understood now in umpteen number of meetings that our foreign minister had, prime minister had, and very clearly articulated India's stance, which is not to support Russia as much as to support a UN Charter, basically, and the principles of peace, dialogue and diplomacy. This is what is needed. Needed for our own development, for our own growth, for our own interest.
So then let's engage with nations who take their foreign policy seriously and they don't twist and turn it around based on the nation that they want to engage with. The absolute hypocrisy writ large in every statement that they make. Can they go and decide, can we go ahead and tell tomorrow we'll deem Alaska as an independent state of Alaska and call it as a separate from the US? How can they say what is being deemed as sovereign territory by the Indian Parliament, their diplomat can go and call it Azad Kashmir and get away with it? What kind of a nation? There are a lot of questions that can be asked in terms of what they think is not their view. It's not a world view, it's an America view. And if India exercises strategic autonomy, then we must do it a little more strongly. And if they can come out, I'm just amazed, Dhruv Katoji, final word. Their president can come out and say, wherever you are, whichever corner of the world, if you are against America, we'll hunt you down and take you down. Their president says that and it makes global headlines saying, fantastic, when they take out Ayman al-Zawahiri. But we can't do the same with Hafiz Saeed. We can't do the same with Lakhvi. We can't do the same with Masood Azhar and Dawood Ibrahim. Who decides that? And who is anybody else to decide that?
Anand, I think it is high time that we started taking these fellows out, the local terrorists who have been after India for so many years. But having said that, I think we need to increase our own economic and military heft for us to be in a position to say that. We will get there. The problem of the West is that as we are getting there, we are already the 5th largest economy. We will soon be within 3 or 4 years the 3rd largest economy. Their problem is this, that we will become a direct competitor to the West. And they will try their best to put us down. Now that is part of the power games. It's all right. Let them do what they want. We will become a strong economic and military power. And once we are there, we will take down our terrorists the way we wish to take them down.
Exactly. So it boils down to that we need to have our own economic and military heft. And that we need to do as a collective, as a nation. We need to get there, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get down to that task. We've charted the roadmap for the next 25 years. Let's try and do it in 10. And then we can set the next 15 years, setting course and setting the historical and global narratives right. I thank you all. Thank you very, very much for joining us on debate number 1 this evening on The Right Stand. Stay with us. After the break, it's the Gyanvapi decision by the Varanasi court. Why did the court deny a scientific investigation? And is it now with the Supreme Court to take the supreme decision on scientific investigation? Stay with us.
He said that with the blessings of Arvind Kejriwal, our leadership in Gujarat has attacked the Prime Minister's 100-year-old mother. The NIA has conducted various investigations and searches at locations in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir. This is in connection to the drone delivery case. In the past 9 months, security forces have observed the illegal entry of 191 drones in Indian territory from Pakistan, raising major concerns in terms of internal security of the country. In a significant move, the Mumbai traffic police have made it compulsory for all drivers and passengers of motor vehicles to wear seat belts from 1st of November. Any person driving without a seat belt or carries a passenger who's not wearing the seat belt shall be liable for a fine and punishment. The All India Senior Selection Committee has named Mohammad Shami and Jasprit Bumrah's replacement in India's ICC Men's T20 World Cup squad. Shami has reached Australia and will link up with the squad in Brisbane ahead of the warm-up matches. Mohammad Siraj and Shardul Thakur have been named as backups. The embattled British Prime Minister has fired her Chancellor Exchequer Kwasi after just 37 days of premiership. Now, she resigned at the truce request after rushing back to London overnight from IMF meetings in Washington. He's expected to scrap part of their economic package in a bid to survive the market and political turmoil prevent the country. Russian officials in the occupied Kherson region of Ukraine have reiterated calls for local residents to evacuate Russia. The move comes as Ukrainian forces push their counter-offensive deeper into the southern Kherson region at a slower pace. And new tensions are flaring in the Korean peninsula, with North Korea test-firing a series of long-range missiles. South Korea has called out the violation of Inter-Korean Military Agreement 2018, while Japan has warned of a possible advancement of a nuclear technology by Korea. In what can be termed as a medical marvel, a 35-year-old patient underwent an awake brain surgery while playing saxophone. The surgery lasted for 9 hours in Rome and removed the brain tumor successfully. The Election Commission has announced the polling dates for the state of Himachal Pradesh. The elections for the 68 assembly seats will be conducted in a single phase on the 12th of November, and the results will be declared on the 8th of December. This time, the Himachal elections have a three-way fight between the incumbent BJP, Congress and the new entrant, Aam Aadmi Party.
The Gazette notification would be 17th October. The election would be in one phase. Last date for nomination would be 25th October, that is Tuesday. Date for scrutiny would be 27th. Last date for withdrawal would be 29th. And date of poll 12th November. And date of counting 8th December. And the entire process is completed by 10th of December.
The dates of Gujarat elections will also be announced very soon. According to the Election Commission, the announcement of the Gujarat Assembly election dates will be made by the end of October. The counting of votes for the Gujarat Assembly elections is likely on the 8th, along with Himachal Pradesh Assembly elections. The Assembly elections for the state of Gujarat are likely to be held in two phases. Smriti Irani has lashed out at Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal over Gujarat President Gopal Atalia's remark on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's mother. She said that with the blessings of Arvind Kejriwal, our leadership in Gujarat has attacked the Prime Minister's 100-year-old mother. The NIA has conducted various investigations and searches at locations in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir. This is in connection to the drone delivery case. In the past 9 months, security forces have observed the illegal entry of 191 drones in Indian territory from Pakistan, raising major concerns in terms of internal security of the country. In a significant move, the Mumbai traffic police have made it compulsory for all drivers and passengers of motor vehicles to wear seat belts from 1st of November. Any person driving without a seat belt or carries a passenger who's not wearing the seat belt shall be liable for a fine and punishment. The All India Senior Selection Committee has named Mohammad Shami and Jasprit Bumrah's replacement in India's ICC Men's T20 World Cup squad. Shami has reached Australia and will link up with the squad in Brisbane ahead of the warm-up matches. Mohammad Siraj and Shardul Thakur have been named as backups. The embattled British Prime Minister has fired her Chancellor Exchequer Kwasi after just 37 days of premiership. Now, she resigned at the truce request after rushing back to London overnight from IMF meetings in Washington. He's expected to scrap part of their economic package in a bid to survive the market and political turmoil prevent the country. Russian officials in the occupied Kherson region of Ukraine have reiterated calls for local residents to evacuate Russia. The move comes as Ukrainian forces push their counter-offensive deeper into the southern Kherson region at a slower pace. And new tensions are flaring in the Korean peninsula, with North Korea test-firing a series of long-range missiles. South Korea has called out the violation of Inter-Korean military agreement 2018, while Japan has warned of a possible advancement of a nuclear technology by Korea. In what can be termed as a medical marvel, a 35-year-old patient underwent an awake brain surgery while playing saxophone. The surgery lasted for 9 hours in Rome and removed the brain tumor successfully. The Election Commission has announced the polling dates for the
ऑर्डर के अगेंस्ट हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाएंगे। इस ऑर्डर को हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट में चुनौती देंगे।
Welcome the judgment of the civil court regarding the carbon dating issue of the Shivling. When the whole of the area is sealed on the order of the Supreme Court, how can any activity or carbon dating can be done?
Well, this is what the Varanasi court had to say. They held back or reserved the judgment after hearing everybody, and today the district judge came there and said that no, there will be no scientific investigation. Carbon dating is rejected. Let's quickly get into it. We've got the petitioner Parul Khera and also with her lawyer Vishnu Shankar Jain joining us along with Swapnil Kothari. But quickly, just getting you the summary, will be a violation of the Supreme Court's order sealing the Wazoo Khana to try and preserve everything as it is. Any harm to the structure will violate the Supreme Court's orders to protect the Shivling. This is what the Varanasi court's reasoning. Harm to the Shivling will hurt religious sentiments, lessen the chances of resolution, is what they have said. Now, harm to the Shivling, that's what he has come out and said. Sometimes it's not just what the order says, but also how the order has been written and what the tone of the order is could have an impact. Over to the Supreme Court on scientific investigation is the big question. Let's go across to our panelists straight away on the Gyanvapi case. Parul ji, namaste. Aaj ka jo order, what have after the order today, how would you respond to it? Or what was your first reaction?
Anandji, I'll tell you what. On the 21st of July 2022, we have moved to Supreme Court seeking scientific investigation because we knew a situation like this may arise. That's why I was one of the petitioners in the Supreme Court asking for scientific investigation at that time. Now on 20th May, the Supreme Court had passed an order saying, the district judge has all the powers to take an action. And today this order had come. So it is a kind of a pendulum situation where, High Court is, Supreme Court is moving us to the district court, and district court is now saying that there's an order which is, is passed by Supreme Court. But however, the positive point in all these things is that the district court hasn't questioned the scientific investigation or if the carbon dating or any other procedure may done, or if there is a need of it. I mean, or there may not be. Where the court need of it. So it is very specific that there is no question mark on the scientific investigation, but on the order which is passed by the Supreme Court.
But Vishnuji, this is what the court says. Court notes that at this point in time, the carbon dating is not required to look at the matters of due process of law. That is also something that the court talks about.
Yeah, Anandji, but
Vishnu, I would like to tell it very.
Yeah, Vishnuji.
See, Anand, I would like to tell it very candidly that the order passed by the Honorable District Court of Varanasi is erroneous in law as on fact for two reasons. First reason is, as I point out, that the Supreme Court on 20th of May had asked the Honorable District Judge to do the entire trial as well as to decide all the applications which are filed in this case. The second point is that we had moved to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court asked us to approach the trial court. And the third point is that the Honorable District Judge has commented that this kind of scientific investigation or carbon dating cannot be done without calling the ASI. The ASI was not called for. The director of the ASI is saying that yes, this kind of an exercise can be conducted without damaging the Shivlingam. And the point is this, Anand, that please try to understand the misnomer which is being tried to be created by the Muslim community. We had asked for GPR survey. In GPR survey, no damage will be caused to the Shivlingam. We had asked for excavation of the Vazu area. In excavation, no damage will be done to the Shivlingam. And third, we had asked for carbon dating of the other constituents of Shivlingam, which means when excavation will be done, whatever will be found beneath in which there will be carbon content, for that carbon dating will be done. So first stage of this scientific investigation was GPR survey. आज मैं आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहता हूँ आपके माध्यम से आनंद सारे लोगों से, अगर आज इसकी खुदाई होती है और नीचे शिवलिंग का अर्घा मिलता है, there is no sane person in this world will say कि इसकी कार्बन डेटिंग कराओ या इसकी आर्गन डेटिंग कराओ. जब शिवलिंग पूरा विद अर्घा के साथ मिल रहा है, that's the end of the story.
But
so you are not asking, we are asking for excavation, we are asking for GPR survey, and the last stage was carbon dating or argon dating or other techniques. The ASI is ready. The court is not calling the ASI to take its response. The court says that we are barred by the judgment of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says you go to the trial court. So the point is this, that Anand, this is an erroneous judgment. We'll challenge it in the Supreme Court, and I have full faith that the Supreme Court will set aside this judgment, and someday or the other scientific investigation will be done. And Anand, my last point is this, just last 30 seconds.
Please take your time.
If one side is saying it's a Shivlingam, the other side is saying it's a fountain. The Muslim side till date has gone on record and said, for the first time, they may have told various statements on media channels, but in my case they have gone on to say that no, this is a fountain and it needs adjudication. Please read their application, please highlight their application. The Muslim side themselves say that it needs an adjudication, and when we say it has to be adjudicated, they say no. कोई लॉजिक नहीं है आनंद. साइंटिफिक इन्वेस्टिगेशन ना हो, इसके लिए कोई लॉजिक नहीं है.
Correct. तो वो तो कोर्ट ने भी नहीं कहा कि I understand your pain and your agony, but the court has also said that ordering ASI for carbon dating won't help it in answering questions of law involved in the suit. Now that is where, when we were speaking to Subhash K. Jha ji, and he was saying कि सवाल तो शिवलिंग का है, सवाल तो इन कि वहाँ पर आस्था, which was what was the character of that place in as of places of worship act, तो वो तो law भी, scientific investigation will prove a lot of aspects of law. But how would you respond to what the judgment says, Vishnu Jain? Before I bring in Swapnik Kothari, yes, Vishnu Jain. See Anand, the point is that we are not asking for scientific investigation to prove the questions of law. The questions of law will definitely be decided as per the judgments and various catenas of ratios of laws by the Supreme Court. Questions of law are never decided on questions of fact. We are here going to establish facts. Then we will prove our case through clinching evidence, historical as well as scientific. Then the point will come, what is the question of law to be framed in this case? That is point number one. The point number two is that, Anand, you will remember, and you had covered this on ground also, that this kind of survey we had asked for when we were taking advocate commission. Correct.
At that time, at that point of time, there was a huge hue and cry in the country that why do you need advocate commissioner survey? There is nothing in this mosque. You need not enter inside. But we entered inside and we found so many things.
Correct.
In the same manner, I am telling that when this scientific investigation will be conducted, the truth will come out. And let me tell you, Anand, this kind of, and please give me 10 seconds more.
Please.
This kind of an order is not new. This kind of order was passed in Ayodhya's case. This kind of order was passed by civil judge of Varanasi, Honorable Mr. Justice Ashutosh Tiwari, asking for GPR survey and the ASI survey of the entire premises. The Muslim side is in appeal before the Allahabad High Court. So we got a very narrow window where after that order, the commission was done. The Shivlingam was found. The Supreme Court permitted us to move to the trial court. and therefore we asked for excavation of the Wazoo area. Now this is our case as a whole, like in long and short before you.
No, I get your point. That, but the tone of the judgment is that an indication where the judge says there is merit in what you are asking for. We can, but I don't want to take the responsibility of allowing it, because I don't want to be responsible, or this court does not want to be held responsible if something happens tomorrow, because the Supreme Court has said कि इस जगह को कुछ नहीं होना चाहिए. Swapnil Kothari, quick comment.
Yes, Anand, this is a very, very absurd judgment. It lacks complete application of mind, as we use, to use the legal terminology. And I'm sure the Hindu side will go ahead before the Supreme Court for seeking a clarification of the interpretation of its order. To challenge this order before the Supreme Court may perhaps be another technical flaw, because you need to go to a higher court than the district court, which would be the High Court, and then you go to the Supreme Court. So I would not put up an appeal or a challenge to this order in the Supreme Court. If I were there, I would put up a clarification before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court might just say that let us clarify our laws, our order should not operate as a bar. It was an erroneous interpretation by the district judge, and it needs to go straight back to the district judge again for a recall of his order, or whether he wants to revisit this order. But looking at the tone and the tenor of this judgment, having said that, the first part, the second part is looking at the tone and the tenor of the judgment. I don't think that this particular court was inclined to pass a proper order, in the sense that it did not want to adjudicate upon it. It found two reasons to do so. That first of all, it was the Supreme Court's order was an embargo, which was an erroneous interpretation of the Supreme Court order, because on the 20th May itself, the Supreme Court said that you should go ahead with the applications, and once the Supreme Court shunts it back to the trial court, which it did on that day, that means the trial court was seized off by this matter with the jurisdiction, with complete jurisdiction to dispose of the applications as it deemed fit. It did not do so. Now, the second point in this, the key part is about the carbon dating part, which it did not say that carbon dating is something which is, some of your panelists earlier during the day, or, people across the channels have been saying that carbon dating may not be the adequate method. But, that is not the issue before. That was not the reasoning by the judge. The court did not even go into that.
No, because the court very clearly was apprised, Swapnil, and I'm reading the order, carbon dating athwa anya vaigyanik technique. So the court also accepted that it is any other vaigyanik technique. And you know what? And it says अन्य वैज्ञानिक तकनीक जैसे कि ग्राउंड पेनिट्रेटिंग रेडार का प्रयोग करते हुए दिनांक 16 मई 2022 को अधिवक्ता कमिश्नर द्वारा की गई कार्यवाही के दौरान पाए गए शिवलिंग की संरचना, प्रकृति और आयु का निर्धारण किया जाए. Now in the judgment,
one point I would like to make for the benefit of your viewers is that when a trial court in a civil suit is seized of the matter, the first point before any questions of law arise are questions of fact. The questions of fact need to be established. This is a factual question, whether or not there is a shivling or whether or not there was a fountain. For that purpose, the court is free to order an inquiry, whether it's scientific, non-scientific, excavation, etc., whatever it may deem fit. To say that it could damage the shivling, any scientific inquiry, or even other than carbon dating or anything, is an erroneous interpretation, for the simple reason it is lacking, or it is undermining the intelligence of the people who would go ahead and conduct the scientific inquiry.
I am just saying
this is where it goes wrong.
In that one paragraph, there are 4 lines. One paragraph before the final order is pronounced. आदेश के ऊपर का जो बड़ा paragraph है उसको पढ़िए विष्णु जैन. Everywhere, nowhere is the Fawara mentioned. What is mentioned is Shivling, Kathit Shivling and Kathit Shivling. One place it's Shivling, one place it's Kathit Shivling, the other place is Kathit Shivling. So that's where the tone of the judgment comes out. The reference is not as what is claimed by one group which says Fawara. It is the references as one group said we found it there as a Shivling. The point is that the judgment turns around. Does this also say that, okay, let the top court only decide once and for all if it is, and how this scientific investigation will do it and who will be responsible for it? Let the top court decide. If I decide, then you will go to a high court, then you will go to the Supreme Court. Let the top court straight away decide, Vishnu Jain. And you have said you are going to approach the top court.
See, Anand, I have said that I will approach the Supreme Court, and the reason is this. The reason is this, that the Honorable Trial Court has said that we are barred, our hands are tied because of the judgment of the Supreme Court. Now if I'll go to the High Court also against this order, the High Court will say that our hands are also tied because the Supreme Court has sealed the premises. So I have to take a clarification from the Supreme Court. That is point number one.
Correct.
Point number two is this,
that's right.
that kindly see Anand, today I made a statement that I want to approach the Supreme Court against this order. Many questions were raised against me, Anand. When Muslim side challenged the order of Civil Judge Senior Division, which is lower than the district judge, of sealing order directly in the Supreme Court, no questions were asked. So the point is this, Anand. My point is this, kindly try to appreciate. I am the person who did this advocate commission. The entire survey was done. When survey was done, we said on record, on your channel and various places on record, we said that Shivlingam has been found. If today I was not good with my conviction, I wouldn't have made an application for a scientific investigation. Because if it's a fountain, then definitely fountain will come out.
Correct.
The theory of fountain will come out by the ASI. The ASI will say that, boss, you are wrong. This is a fountain.
Correct. The point is it has to be determined eventually by a third party which will authenticate via all scientific means, which will prove beyond doubt whatever that. Now there is another suggestion. 3D X-rays / scan from the side or top. They do that for pyramids and there will be no harm for Shivling. Another viewer who's watching it and he's a professional himself who said that this can be done. So Parul Khela, finally it is at the doorstep of the Honorable Shivling of the Honorable Supreme Court. Do you believe that the path to scientific investigation will be cleared there?
See, Anand, truth will prevail. मतलब सत्य तो सबके सामने आएगा, धर्म की जीत तो होकर ही रहेगी, सत्य सबके सामने उजागर होगा. See, there are historical evidence, there are documentary evidence, there are religious evidence. Now, what is left? The only thing we are left now is with the scientific investigation, and it will happen because without that you can't ascertain if it is a Shivlingam or a fountain or whatever it is.
Right.
I mean, we'll have to go through that truth only.
Well, let's see,
So
and you may just have the new Chief Justice presiding over it. We don't know, but it will be there in the Honorable Supreme Court of the country that this matter will be decided whether or not there will be further pursuance, the scientific way to settle this, whether it's a fountain or it's a Shivling. What the judgment intends to say is let the Supreme Court decide. So it's over to the top court now. Vishnu Shankar Jain, Swapnil Kothari and Parul Khera, thank you very much. Winding up the right stand on that note, ladies and gentlemen. Zaka Reddy with brass tacks.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zakir Jacob. There's a raging war between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party over its Gujarat unit chief, Gopal Italia, and his rather reprehensible comments, first regarding the Prime Minister and now regarding the Prime Minister's mother, who is 100 years old. Aam Aadmi Party says that these are old videos and the BJP is raking this up now because they're afraid of how popular AAP has become in Gujarat. Irrespective of that, has Mr. Italia crossed a basic line of decency in politics? And for that alone, should he need to atone?